Let me tell you a story that starts like any other lazy Saturday morning. Birds chirping, coffee steaming, a light breeze whispering through maple trees. I was sitting on my porch swing, half awake, watching a cat try to catch a butterfly and fail, miserably. Peaceful, simple, until the crack of wood jolted me like a gunshot. At first, I thought it was a car accident. Then I saw them. Two men on my front lawn, yanking panels off my fence like they were harvesting firewood. They wore matching olive green polos with Community Compliance Division printed across the chest. The stitching looked cheap, like something from a flea market. No badges, no IDs, just crowbars. Real ones. I stormed off my porch, heart thudding. "What the hell are you doing?" The taller guy, wiry with sunglasses that reflected everything but truth, didn't even flinch. He just wedged his crowbar under another board and said flatly, "Violation 33B. Non-conforming materials. Unapproved fencing." "What compliance? This neighborhood doesn't even have an HOA," I shot back. The shorter one turned toward me, grinning like a shark. Thick neck, bald head, and a voice soaked in smug. "Not before, but thanks to the new jurisdiction expansion passed by the city's beautification task force, your property falls under our regulation now." He then kicked through another board, like he was proving a point. My point. I told them to stop, to get off my property, that I was calling the cops. That's when the tall one sighed and said, "You're free to file a complaint after we finish the demolition." But he never finished that sentence, because from the side yard, behind the hedge, came a voice. Calm, deep, steady like thunder before a storm. "You tear down his fence. You better build coffin too." And just like that, everything stopped. Out from behind the hedge stepped a man. Not just any man. This was my neighbor across the street, Nikolai Sokolov, former Russian naval engineer, current backyard beekeeper, and the last person you'd ever want to annoy on a good day, let alone while he's tending to hives. Nikolai wasn't yelling. He didn't need to. He wore a sun-faded vest over a flannel shirt, one sleeve rolled up, and carried a metal smoker in one hand, wisps of grey trailing behind him like warning signs. His other hand cradled a mason jar of honey, like it was a grenade.
Nauta'ibubuyoduwo at known Nicola for 17 years, Winnie with the talk cat, bubble, rain patterns, and tomato blight. Honey at the farmer's market on Sundays. This was someone else, someone who'd probably interrogated Spice using just his stare.
The two men straightened up. The tall one stepped back. "Sir, this is an active enforcement operation," he said, voice suddenly unsure. Nikolai kept walking. "You bring crowbars," he said. "I bring bees." They didn't laugh. I think that scared them more. Nikolai raised the smoker and pumped a gentle puff of smoke into the air. The breeze caught it, sending it straight toward them. Then, with the slow grace of a man not used to bluffing, he pointed toward the beehives behind his gate. "You want to leave? First, fix what you broke, or meet Queen Katya." "Queen who?" The bald one stuttered. 10 minutes, Nikolai said. smiling faintly. Your face will know. Still, they didn't move. So the bald one lunged. What happened next happened fast. Nikolai sidestepped like he was dancing with gravity. One smooth twist, a pivot, and crack, a jab to the nose. Not wild, not messy. Surgical. The sound was something between celery and concrete. Bald guy dropped flat, unconscious. The tall one screamed, high-pitched. You assaulted an officer. Nikolai turned toward him slowly. Then arrest me, he said. Show badge. Nothing, just shaking. Then Nikolai walked over, grabbed an old toolbox from under my bushes, and opened it with a creak. Inside was a hammer, older than most careers. He handed it to the tall one. Work, he said, or bleed. And the man worked. I'll never forget it. He knelt right there on my lawn and started reassembling my fence, splinter by splinter. His hands trembled, every nail bent, every plank slightly off. And every time he messed up, Nikolai would grunt like a disappointed god. By now, the neighbors had gathered. Some brought chairs, one guy brought popcorn. Another played Johnny Cash from a Bluetooth speaker like it was a Western showdown. The man, turns out his name was Trevor, was drenched in sweat. His compliance polo looked more like shame soaked in cotton. At one point, a bee landed on his forehead and just sat there. He didn't move. Nikolai gave him a nod. The bee flew away. He nearly fainted from relief. Meanwhile, the other guy, bald and bloody, was now sitting up, dazed and silent, holding a plank in place with his good hand. Nobody helped him, not out of cruelty, but because balance had to be restored. Trevor kept hammering. At one point he muttered, "This is assault. This is crazy." Nikolai leaned in. "You brought crowbar. You brought lie. Now you bring nails. Finish." The tension, somehow, turned into something else. Catharsis. People clapped when Trevor got a board straight. Miss Hernandez, from 2 doors down, shouted, "Should have brought permits, not pliers." That became a TikTok sound, obviously. Eventually, Trevor dropped the hammer and shouted, "We were trying to clean up the neighborhood. You people want chaos?" Nikolai picked up the hammer and handed it back. "Then clean what you break, not what you don't understand." By noon, the fence was half rebuilt. Better than before, honestly. And Trevor? He wasn't angry anymore. He was exhausted, quiet. At the end, he even looked at me and said, "I'm sorry." I nodded. "Keep working, we'll talk later." When it was finally done, Nikolai handed both men a bottle of water. And with a voice so soft you could almost miss it, he said, "Now, you leave." But then, just as they turned to go, Nikolai pointed at the hive box again. "Next time," he said, his voice dropping like a hammer, "you leave without breaking. Or I don't use hands, I use hive." They didn't argue. They didn't look back. Just limped to their SUV and disappeared down the street like cartoon villains that had taken the wrong left turn in real life. What followed was pure internet wildfire. A neighbor's drone, caught the whole thing. The video hit Facebook by dinner. By morning, it was on Reddit's front page. TikToks, memes, headlines like "Backyard Beekeeper Destroys HOA Scam with Hammer and Honey." Nikolai didn't care. He declined every interview, refused to monetize his honey jars. He went back to his bees like nothing happened. But for us, everything changed. People kept their lawns neater. They talked more. We started calling the whole thing the fence incident, like it was our neighborhood's own folk legend. And yeah, turns out those two guys weren't just random punks. They were part of a scam ring. Fake HOAs, fake citations, collecting fines from elderly homeowners. They'd been doing it for months. But Nikolai stopped them the only way they'd understand. With order, not chaos. With consequence, not complaint. And the fence, it still stands. Stronger than before. A little crooked in one place. But that's okay. It's honest. There's even a plaque now. Someone carved it by hand. It reads, "Rebuilt with sweat, protected by bees." Every now and then, someone touches it, like it's sacred. And if you listen close enough, you'll still hear that hum, the hive, the memory of justice that didn't come from a courtroom, but from a quiet man in a flannel shirt who reminded us what it means to protect what's yours. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever dealt with an abusive HOA? Or maybe someone pretending to have power they didn't earn? Drop your stories down in the comments. I'm reading every one of them. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you believe that sometimes the best defense is bees.